Hi, my name is Tom Van Kempen, and I pastor in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I've been asked to bring a couple of devotionals to the Church United group in northern Mississippi, and I consider it an honor and a privilege to be with you in all the craziness that is going on. So I want to talk to you about your identity, specifically your identity in God. I believe that identity determines your destiny. And if that's true, then your identity will determine how you respond in a crisis type situation. So for this lesson, we're going to go to Judges chapter 6, and we're going to talk about a man by the name of Gideon who was unsure of his identity. This is what it says in Judges 6, 11, and 12. Gideon was threshing wheat at the bottom of the winepress to hide the grain from the Midianites. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "Mighty hero, the Lord is with you." Now, let me give you an interesting statistic from 2018. 14 million people had their identities stolen. Maybe it's happened to you. It's happened to people that I know. They've had their identities stolen. Either someone got hold of their social security number or their driver's license or somehow, and they've emptied out bank accounts, opened up credit cards, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, I think during this crisis, more people have had their spiritual identities stolen than even their physical identities. Look at our friend Gideon here. He is all concerned. He's hiding in a wine press. He doesn't know what to do. He's running from the Midianites, and yet God calls him a mighty hero. We need to understand that the devil, the thief described in John chapter 10, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And the way he does that is he hacks into our lives and he steals our joy. He steals our happiness. He steals our very God-given purpose in life. Now, how does that take place? It takes place when we don't follow the promises of God, when we don't understand the Word of God, and we don't believe what God says about us. Instead, we buy into Satan's lies, and that's what happened here with Gideon. He's fearful. He's hiding in a hole. But we need to understand that for 7 consecutive years, the fear idea has been reinforced. Just like in our culture, every couple of years, actually every night on the television, there is a message of fear that comes across on the news, and it starts building up in our souls. But God has not given us Christians the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Gideon actually saw himself as a loser. He saw himself as completely defeated by the Midianites. And we know that they had sinned and got themselves into these circumstances, but Gideon was a covenant son of the living God. He had the right to cast the Midians out of his life, but instead, he's isolated, he's alone, and when God says, "You're the one who's going to deliver the children of Israelites," what does he say? He goes, "I'm the weakest, I'm the least and the weakest clan of all. I can't do this." But God's truth is spoken into Gideon's life. God says, "You're a mighty hero." You might say, what's he talking about? Because he's not. Well, God sees our potential, not our present circumstances. God sees our purpose, the purpose he created for us, not the problem that we're going through. So in verse 14, follow this. God says, "Go in the strength that you have." Well, what strength does he have? He has the strength, number one, that he's been called by God. He has the strength, number two, that he's been gifted by God, and so have you. You've been called by God. You've been gifted by God. Ephesians 2:10 actually says that you are God's masterpiece. In the Greek language, it uses the word poema, and it means that you are a one-of-a-kind that was built and created for such a day as this. And on top of it all, he's given you his very own strength. See, it's not who you are necessarily. It's not who I am necessarily. It's who we're with. Judges chapter 6, verse 34, the end of the chapter says, "Then the Spirit of the Lord clothed Gideon with power, with strength, with everything he needed to defeat the Midianites." Remember, it's who you're with. God was with a stammering Moses at the age of 80 and he defeated Pharaoh. God was with a slave boy named Joseph and he elevated him to number 2 in the land. God was with a teenage shepherd boy named David and he was able to defeat a giant who was a military soldier by the name of Goliath. And God was with a 90-year-old man named Daniel when he was thrown in the lion's den. Great occasions make great people. Great trials make great believers. Let your family, your church, your country, the world see your greatness as you partner with God. I look forward to seeing you in the next devotional.